Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Two Asian Blokes, a podcast where we talk about Asian pop culture, films, TV shows, comic books, anime, music, food, whatever we're feeling at the time, really. My name is Dan with a H, and with me, as always, is my co-host Tavi. Hello, Tavi.
Hey, what's going on? A little bit hungover today, so
Wow.
a little bit low energy.
Did you have a big one last night?
Yeah, one of the first big ones I've had in a while.
Nice.
So we're just gathering at some Tex-Mex bar in the city. We're drinking these margarita towers,
Ooh.
and it was just like drinking water. Drinking water. we had like four of them, and then we went to just a pub afterwards. Not super late. I think I got home at like one or so.
Was you getting drunk in any way related to the film that you watched yesterday? The film that we're going to be talking about today, by any chance?
Unfortunately not. I guess alcohol... Honestly, I probably would have fallen asleep if I was drinking, because I was falling asleep during this movie in the theater.
Well, I mean, like, in a sense that maybe you needed a drink after watching that.
Yeah.
Because I did.
I had a headache after watching this movie. I had to take some Panadol.
Yeah.
And it was really I was really exhausted after watching this movie. And drinking with friends remedied that fatigue.
Okay.
So yeah, related in a sense. But what movie are we talking about, Dan?
We're going to be talking about Welcome to Raccoon City. It's been out for a while here, but we just haven't gotten around to watching it. We're going to review it. Non-spoilers first, I guess, and then spoilers after.
But do people really care about? Like, no one wants to watch this movie, clearly.
Well, yeah. It hasn't been doing very well in the box office, and been getting fairly lampooned by reviewers, critics. Fans don't seem to like it. But on the off chance that you're curious, like us, I guess we were kind of curious. So on the off chance that you do want to watch it, we'll talk non-spoilers first and then spoilers after, and give you fair warning before we start spoiling. I think that's only fair.
If you ever want to experience what it's like to be in a cinema by yourself, you can probably go and watch this movie.
Yeah.
And but you mentioned that there were actually quite a few people at your screening.
I mean, there were about 15, which is not bad for like the middle of the day during COVID kind of thing.
Yeah, that's not bad at all. For us, I think there was 5 people. It was me and the friend that I dragged along, and another group of youths wanting to pass the time.
Did it seem like they enjoyed the film?
I wouldn't get a good chance. They were pretty quiet, which was surprising.
Oh, okay.
I was expecting like obnoxious youths, but it was all good. And I mean, I'm like, do you guys like walk into the wrong theater? Like, this isn't Spider-Man.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, in my cinema, there were a lot of like people just there on their own. So I don't know what the target audience is for this. I guess it's just bored people that need something to watch.
We were just saying before, it's just a bunch of people reviewing Resident Evil for their YouTube channels.
Yeah,
and their
I reckon. Yeah. So people like us, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, not many reasons to watch this film.
I mean, I'm just trying to think about how we're going to tackle it. Like, I'm not really sure if I've got that much to say.
I guess first we can talk about like our previous video on the trailer and our expectations of the movie after watching that trailer. Like, if you haven't watched that trailer analysis and breakdown, we don't talk about the trailer that much because it looked so bad, right?
Yeah.
I think our consensus after watching that trailer is that the resulting movie was also going to be pretty bad. There was just something like cheap looking about the trailer, right? That irked us.
Yeah. I mean, I just watched this movie off the back of watching Dune and watching the latest Bond movie.
And Spider-Man.
And Spider-Man. And then it's like, okay, welcome to Raccoon City. It's pretty shit. It's not the worst thing you'll see, I guess. It's just, there's a lot of bad writing, a lot of bad, acting. But I guess it's like whether or not that's the direction of the film, because
to be bad. Johannes Roberts is like Just make it bad. I reckon.
Just make it bad. make it 90s. I think that's probably what maybe they were going for. I don't know.
There were a lot of 90s things in it.
Yeah, but just the way that the cast interact with each other. I mean, should we just do a brief synopsis?
Okay.
There's not really much of a story.
Yeah, if you've played the games, I guess it's Resident Evil 1 and Resident Evil 2 mushed together. You get your whole cast of characters there. Claire's there. She's returning to Raccoon City after a long separation from it. And she's going to reunite with her brother Chris, who is working there as a member of their elite police unit, STARS.
The very likable police unit, yeah.
Yeah, I guess we'll get into that in a bit. Leon is there. He's a rookie cop. Pretty fresh and new. Yeah, Leon's there, Tavi. Did you not see popular video game character Leon S. Kennedy there?
Oh, I thought I was watching Kramer.
Gomer Pyle.
I thought I was watching the sequel to Love and Peace, just reinterpreted in a different manner. You know.
Yeah. Well, he's there by name, I guess. Alone. Who else is there? And Jill is there as well. Also another member of STARS. So they're there. Weird stuff is happening in Raccoon City. I mean, the plot is basically let's get the fuck out of here. I guess plot is what the hell's going on. Then let's get the fuck out of here. But they can't leave the city. Yeah,
I mean, there is a very loose story with Claire. Claire is arguably the protagonist in this movie because she has. The movie starts off with her in the orphanage, and she's part of the William Birkin trials, I guess, or whatever they're called. And I think she escapes. I don't quite remember because I was like nodding off at bits and pieces of this movie.
Yeah, well, she starts off the movie in the orphanage with her brother, right? And then it's clear from the going-ons that something shady is happening in this orphanage. She makes friends with Lisa Trevor.
Yeah. Who happens to be like a fucking wrestling god. In this movie.
Yeah. I don't know,
She's
man.
like, I was just waiting for Jay. I go, oh my god, it's SmackDown. I mean, it's not really a spoiler. She like basically lays a smackdown on a liquor. And it's like, it's just like, whoa, there it is.
Weird stuff.
That's a bit ahead of the movie with the single liquor that's in this movie. No, there's all the creatures. There's only one of each in this. There's the dog, the liquor, and William Birkin at the end. I guess you see two forms of him, so you know.
Yeah, I mean, I guess because they're doing 1 and 2 combined, I guess there's a lot of stuff to fit in. Too much in the movie. Yeah, it's a very short film as well by today's standards.
It's short, but felt long.
Yeah. There's some pacing issues.
It's you can really see the budget getting stretched with the. I mean, there's like a lack of zombie action almost. Nothing happens until like the hour mark, really.
There's a lot of establishing the world and the characters at the start, I guess. Like every character kind of gets their own introduction. Like Claire is kind of introduced as a capable, the hero of the story, I guess, when she's in the truck with that guy. And she's like, even though they hit somebody, she kind of still has her head screwed on.
The exposition truck driver.
So weird.
Hey, wow, you're having a nightmare. That would have scared the pants out of me. Going to Raccoon City, huh? Gonna go meet your brother, yeah? Oh, that's just
like
crazy.
She doesn't say a word of her own story. It's all told by this weird truck driver guy. It's like dialogue taken straight from the 1994 game or whatever.
I mean, I think it's the trope of the taxi driver that talks too much. But like it's just really obvious,
right?
And then there's also the I guess they're a bit more than exposition police officers, but like when
they're there kind of to establish Leon's character as a buffoon.
Why? why did Leon get the vicious treatment? Like, he is so demasculated in this movie.
It's an interesting choice, the direction they took with his character.
I didn't like it. I don't think it's interesting. I think it's just like a little bit lazy and a bit insulting, to be honest. I mean, you're supposed to change the character a little bit, but the way that they tried to introduce him as this buffoon, he's getting bullied by his colleagues, who you're supposed to like, these are the heroes of the movie. And there's nothing like a little bit of workplace harassment to really get you on their side,
Yes.
There's Chief Irons, who I kept calling Jeremy Irons because I forgot his name, but because Chief Irons is supposed to be a bad guy from the games, but he's not in this movie. But he's just a massive jerk for no real reason, and he's like.
I kind of liked him. I kind of enjoyed the bit where he's in the briefing room, and then Leon rocks up and is like, has that moment where it's like, "What the fuck are you doing here, Leon? Get the fuck out!" I enjoyed that. Yeah.
I enjoyed it for, I guess, how bad it was. I don't know. It was a bit too much. Like, it was becoming way too cartoonish, and it was becoming very high school, was the way that everyone was interacting with each other. Like, I didn't like any of the banter between the RPD.
Sure.
It just felt like I was watching like a spin-off of Resident Evil, but they're teenagers.
Yeah, it did seem very juvenile. There's a lot of frat boy humor, a lot of swearing, and yeah.
And it's not to say that the workplace, for those people who probably are in high school and go into the real world and find out that workplaces are probably like the same as high school, but it's still a bit different. But it was just too. I think it was just too juvenile, and I didn't like anyone. I didn't like Chris. I wasn't on board with Jill. She didn't have much of a character except that she shoots well and she eats a Jill sandwich, which is the most shoehorned in line in the movie, where she steals Wesker's sandwich while he's eating it, and she's like, "Oh, you snooze, you lose."
Yeah,
and it's like, it's Jill's sandwich now. And it's like, I don't think anyone would ever do that. And then all Wesker is just doing is just looking shocked.
Oh, he was giving the audience a moment to register the Easter egg, Tubby.
Yeah. But I don't know. It was way too shoehorned in. I would have just left that line out.
Yeah. Wesker's pretty bad. Speaking of Wesker.
Yeah. I was just about to say. So Wesker's not British anymore. He's like the epitome of a Giga Chad.
Yeah.
The alpha dude bro Giga Chad.
Odd casting choice.
The whole cast is odd. Claire's probably the most
Claire-like. I think Chris. is.
Oh yeah, Chris does look good.
Because Chris is supposed to be pretty bland of a a dude. Which
Chris, the truck driver.
The truck driver's, he was all right.
he's the same as in the remake.
The dogs work. They acted like dogs. Yeah.
The burger looked good when, that's iconic now. The burger in the Resident Evil 2 remake is the most.
Yeah, that's true. I've got a list of good things and bad things.
Yeah, go for it. I think you should really level with the positive stuff.
Yeah, I'll start with the positive stuff. Claire and Chris for me were probably the standouts in terms of characters. Claire more so than Chris, because Chris is kind of just there to complain.
Yeah.
But Claire is the main driving force of the story. I guess she's probably got the most to do in the film.
Yeah.
What else is good? The front of the police station was good.
Yeah. It looks good.
Yeah, I think the parts where you can kind of tell that they spent a bit of money on, those things looked pretty good. In comparison to the lobby of the police station where it's just a green screen. And some of the gore effects, I think, as well were decent. Not so much the zombie makeup, because there was really like literally no zombie makeup in this film.
Yeah.
But the parts
people
where like
who look tired.
yeah, more like the dead bodies, I think, were those gore effects were okay. And Dr. Birkin's initial transformation was okay. Yeah.
In terms of the gore effect, this is traveling ahead towards the end of the movie, where you see like one of the patients who's been experimented on, and she's just like, I don't know, still alive, but her like stomach and chest have been like
opened up. Yeah.
That looked really cool. It did kind of remind me of like, you know, Rob Boitein's effects on the Thing. It looked pretty practical.
Yeah, there were some bits where like you can kind of see Johannes Roberts' kind of horror roots appearing, but it's kind of things that would be better in a different film, I think, in like a more generic horror film rather than a Resident Evil film. Like there's a part where Claire is in Chris's house, the itchy tasty part, I guess. Which is just, again, like an Easter egg for the sake of having an Easter egg.
It's from the diaries, in the games or something.
It's like people who played the games kind of know what it is, but in the context of the movie, it makes no sense whatsoever.
It's shoehorned in,
definitely,
like the Jill Sandwich line.
But the part where like she's speaking to the kid under the table, and you see in the background like the woman running towards the window, and she breaks through. I thought that was a decent shot. Even the stuff at the start with Lisa Trevor and Claire in the orphanage, I thought those like kind of tension shots were decent, and would have worked better in like in a more spooky film. You know?
I didn't mind the first 15 minutes of this movie, because I think the Claire being part of the orphanage is a pretty new thing. Like I don't quite remember.
I think that was made up for the sake of the movie,
But like it was interesting because it, like, you know, you could kind of have this relationship between Claire and Lisa Trevor, and there were kind of like creepy scenes as well. So the first 15 minutes of the movie, you know, it's okay. And if it wasn't so bogged down with so many characters, and it had just focused on Claire, maybe rekindling some form of connection with the town and figuring stuff out, or maybe finding out who this Lisa Trevor was. Maybe that was her goal, you know. But it's just like kind of, it's just sidelined with too much stuff, too much character stuff. And
now that I think about it, I was fairly on board until it got to the diner scene where all the Stars members were teasing Leon.
What does the S stand for? Stupid. Leon S. Kennedy. I was like, oh, that's right.
Like when what they did to his character. I mean, I understand they kind of want to make some creative decisions on their own. Like you can do that kind of thing to kind of make your movie stand out a bit from the games, but. It just didn't work. Like his whole deal,
it didn't work at all. He is just like he's a bumbling fool,
and like it's not the actor's fault as well. I think Avan Jogia did like a pretty good job at portraying this buffoon of a character, but it's just the way he was written.
You're probably right. Like he probably did well, but like. It didn't work just being a buffoon.
Like, it wasn't a boring performance for me. It was just the wrong performance for Leon's character, I guess. And again, that's probably not his fault, right? Like, I'm sure he was directed to do something like that, and it's the writing as well. And, like, there's one scene that I actually enjoyed where he's... he's trying to get the guy out of the prison cell, but he's kind of like fumbling around with the keys. It's good for the wrong reasons.
It's so contrived. It's just like, like that guy's gonna die. Oh man, just can't find the keys. It's just like fumbling around. It's like it was a bit too silly. And this had come off the back of. His scene where he's like asleep in the lobby listening to Crush
That scene made no sense. He slept through like this truck exploding right in front of the like police station, but then he gets like woken up by iron shooting makes no sense whatsoever.
That scene made no... Look, there's a truck explosion, and he's not... This is like 1998, so I'm not sure if noise-cancelling headphones are even available, existed or were available to the public.
It would have been a Sony Discman at that point,
So he's not awakened by the truck exploding, and then he's not awakened by the zombie on fire, who, like, when I saw that, it kind of looked like... Because, like, the music that he's listening to is kind of, like, it's still muffled. It's, like... I guess diegetic, so the character can hear it, but it's not like
it's not what the audience
what the audience can hear. But then, like, when the zombie enters the lobby, the music suddenly blends in with the soundtrack, and it looked like a YouTube poop video where someone just plays like a contrasting song for no reason,
right?
So like add some comedy effects. And, like, I'm like, what? I don't know what you were trying to do with that scene. Was it supposed to be threatening? Was it supposed to be funny? Because, like, if you see it, it looks funny because it's like this somewhat of a tension, and then it's just playing Crush.
All right. I think it's meant to be funny.
Yeah.
I think it is. I don't know. It wasn't funny, though.
Do we need it to be funny? Like, it should that scene have been funny?
No.
You know? And, like, also Jeremy Irons or Chief Irons saves Leon, and then he's like, oh, I hope there's not another one like that. And Chief Irons isn't he's not a bad guy in the movie, because in the video games he is a corrupt cop,
right,
who I think kidnaps kids to get experimented on, but he's corrupt and he's working with Umbrella. So I thought, when he was escaping and he didn't tell Leon because he was, like, you know, wanting maybe Leon to get killed or whatever. But he's not. He's just an asshole.
Yeah.
But, like, if you had seen this shit happening, like people turning into zombies, you'd probably tell, you know, your colleagues that this is happening. Like... You know, I mean, was he on his way to tell Leon that this was happening? And he's just like, I thought he was wanting to get the fuck out of Dodge because he had to go meet some contact with Umbrella or whatever. But he's just like, nah, I just wanted to get out.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. It just didn't make sense.
No. I mean, a lot of the film didn't really make sense. Like, why is the police station, like, so big when there are only 6 people working there?
Because it's from the games.
Yeah, right. Like, a lot of it is from the games, and like, sure, that's fine. Like, you're making this film for the fans of the game, I guess. But then why are you, like, butchering Leon's character in that case? You know, like,
there you go.
Either do the game or do your own thing. Like, I don't know. It's weird. There were a lot of weird decisions that I was like, why did they decide to do that? Like, Wesker as well is really butchered. And, like, Jill isn't really given much to do. And these are, like, fan favorites as well. So, they must know that they're going to alienate some fans by making these kinds of decisions. But I guess, like, if it services the story, fine. Do it, I guess, for the sake of getting a better film. But the problem is, it doesn't service the film. It doesn't do anything good for it.
It overstuffs it, and it just, like, as I was saying, like, Jill is just a girl who shoots well and happens to have some form of romantic interest in Wesker all of a sudden, which is, I don't know, that's not in the game. It's interesting that you mentioned, like, whether or not you should do your own thing or stick to the games. And we were talking, I think it was yesterday, whether or not the Paul W.S. Anderson movies are better.
Yeah.
I don't really like the Paul W.S. Anderson movies. And just, I'm comparing this one to Resident Evil 1, his Resident Evil. And probably have to say that his Resident Evil is better. You know, there's there's some iconic scenes in that movie, like the laser scene. The Red Queen is quite iconic. The liquors are like more well utilized. There's a bit more of that silly gun fu-esque.
Yeah. It's just better. I don't even think there's a question. Like, because I was thinking about it, and I'm like, this Welcome to Raccoon City is more akin to the game. Definitely, like 100% more aligned with the game than the Paul W.S. Anderson film. But it's different enough from the games to alienate fans with the characters alone, you know? So even as like an adaptation, a more direct adaptation of the game, it fails. Whereas Paul W.S. Anderson, you know, it's almost like he knew the limitations that he could do. Like, he knew that he couldn't really adapt the game, so he decided to do his own thing. He chose like a different aesthetic. Like the Hive is very like clean and crisp, as opposed to like something like the Spencer Mansion or Raccoon City itself. You know, like, there's more of an action vibe, which is different from the survival horror aspects of the game, but it's something that kind of like expands the universe of the game, I guess, in a way, because like we said in our previous video, like eventually the game started cherry picking stuff from these movies, like more of the action elements, and borrowing that kind of stuff and adding to the games in that way. It also had a lot more zombies, I think.
Yeah, you can really see the budget in Welcome to Raccoon City. You never see groups of zombies. They're always like close-up shots, never more than 3.
Like the groups that we do see,
from what I remember,
aren't zombies. They're more like the people, like kind of on the verge of transforming into zombie-esque creatures. But they don't have like the full zombie makeup, which is just comes off as lazy and cheap. I
didn't like any of the action sequences in this movie. Especially the one where Chris is fighting in the dark. I think that's just poorly shot and poorly edited. And a bit lazy. Not lazy, I don't know. It's trying something different, but I don't think it worked. It just came off as not good.
I'm kind of the same mindset. It's like they tried to do something different, and in a way it kind of does replicate like the whole survival horror vibe of Resident Evil. Like it's darkness, and it's like running out of bullets, and it's like panicking, I guess. Like it's a very panicky scene, but to watch it's shit. Like you can't really follow anything that's happening, and it just looks bad. A lot of it is just you're looking at a black screen, you know.
Chris has some pretty damn strong plot armor, main character armor in this movie.
I mean, that's to be expected, though, I guess.
He should have died so many times. Like the scene before that where they're first ambushed by the zombies. Like Chris is like getting pinned down by 3 zombies, but they just kind of
the guy that he's with is doing much better against the zombies, and he's the one that gets overwhelmed in there.
Yeah, he's got a shotgun, and he gets overwhelmed, and then you don't even see Chris even escape.
Yeah, he's
like
just,
you don't see a shot of him.
He's just out of danger.
He's just out of danger. So it's like, thanks, plot armor. Oh, you're welcome.
He's just lucky that he's a character from the games, I guess. But like everything, I think everything about the Paul W.S. Anderson film is better. Like the zombie dogs look better. I think there's too much of a reliance on CGI in Welcome to Raccoon City. It even does sequel bait better. Like, I guess we'll get into that in spoilers, but it's just a superior film. I'm not talking about like the rest of the Paul W.S. Anderson films, because I do believe the quality drops as the film franchise goes. But the first film, at least, his first film, Paul W.S. Anderson's first film, is better than this film.
It just goes back to that the argument that we had, whether or not you can make a good Resident Evil movie. Like, does the source allow for it to translate onto a narrative sense onto the screen? Because even when we talk, I'm not sure if we talked about the CGI films. but they're like kind of the ideal Resident Evil movies. Like there's like some gun fu scenes with zombies.
Yeah.
They have the characters who are like the definitive canon characters, and they're still pretty forgettable movies. Like I don't remember anything from those movies. I haven't even watched them all.
Yeah.
I know that there's some admittedly cool action sequences, like when the tyrants fighting like these lickers, within the lickers, or like working with the main characters for some reason. That was cool. And there's a scene where Leon and Chris are fighting a bunch of zombies in like this corridor, and they're doing like all this gun fu, and it looks cool.
Yeah. But it is basically just a cutscene from the video games, right? Like,
yeah.
So, I mean, I'm going to refer back to my argument of the closer you try to make a movie, the closer you try to get it to a video game, the worse off it is as its own movie, which I think, to answer your question, I think it is possible to make a good Resident Evil film if you try to do something different. Like, for me, the ideal Resident Evil film would be Paul W.S. Anderson's film, but with a different screenwriter. Perhaps a better screenwriter.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. It's just, I mean, they tried to do something different with this movie. Maybe too much. I don't know. Maybe too much and not enough.
It was like they were trying to please fans, but when it suited them, they just changed stuff for seemingly no reason. Like Leon's change really didn't have there was no reason to it, you know?
Yeah, they had set up all this backstory about them. Like, apparently Leon shot his partner in the ass, and his dad is like that's it. Like, it doesn't amount to anything in the movie, and he's apparently an alcoholic.
There's a point where like he's with Claire in the armory, and he's like, I guess you're wondering why someone like me became a police officer. And she's like, I guess I am wondering that. And he goes, yeah, me too. And then he walks away, and it's like, okay.
It's just the writing of this. I mean, I wasn't expecting good writing, with such lines as Leon S. Kennedy. What does S stand for? Stupid. and all the stuff. I know you mentioned that you liked the scene with Jeremy Irons yelling at the I know it's Chief Irons, so I'm just going to call him Jeremy Irons.
Sure.
Because that's just how I'm going to remember his character. So Jeremy Irons is yelling at Wesker for looking at his stinger, and it's just this really weird. Like, he's talking about, is that a new girl?
It goes on for too long. And
it's just like, I guess I'm going to get laid. Well, you're not, because I want you to go. And it's just like, I can't quote it in its full.
I think that was pretty spot on.
It goes for too long.
It's a short movie, and it's overstuffed, but at the same time, it feels boring and long. Like, I don't know how they did it.
It's
there are some scenes where it goes nowhere and there's no point to them. So I don't know, just take it out and make your other scenes better. I don't know.
Yeah, like I would have followed Claire's, because that, just thinking on it now, is admittedly a pretty interesting change. It's probably
what, the orphanage stuff?
Just that backstory that had the bones for an interesting story.
It seemed like they were building Lisa Trevor up to do something, but
it just
amounts to a wrestling match.
She lays smack down on a liquor.
If you smell.
And then Leon says, "You got some weird friends."
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, cool. You remember that?
Insert laugh track.
That's basically it.
Well, shall we just do spoilers, Tyler?
I think we're running out.
Just to sum up our feelings of this movie before we get into spoilers, I don't think you need to pay to watch this. It's more of a wait for streaming kind of thing. I know you pay for streaming as well, but you know what I mean. You don't go to the movies to watch this. It's not a good cinema experience. It's not fun, and I don't want you to contribute to any sequels that might happen from this film. Like, I doubt this film's going to get a sequel, but...
Yeah, we don't want to watch anymore.
Just to be clear, series. We're not trying to convince you to watch this in the cinemas, even out of morbid curiosity, even if you want to see how bad it is. Just hold off until, it goes to streaming. It's bad enough that we watched it.
But the thing is, like, it's also not... For me, it's not the worst thing that you ever see.
Like, this movie is very mediocre.
Yeah,
it's not terrible, but it's just...
I mean, as much as I didn't like the demasculation of Leon, it's also just really funny with how bad it is, how bad some of the writing and how bad his characterization is, that it was kind of entertaining. So it was just like,
I was more entertained by thinking about the fan backlash. But even that seems a bit lackluster. It doesn't seem like many people are talking about this film, let alone raging about it. It's just almost like fans even are too tired to rage about this film or develop any
I don't think the fan... I think there was just initial backlash from the trailer with how shit it looked, and then that's it. It had sealed its grave.
Yeah. Anyway, shall we do spoilers? Spoiler alert, guys. Yeah.
Yes. So, I mean, there's not even that much to spoil either. Like, sure. Wesker betrays them.
It plays out as your typical Resident Evil film. Wesker betrays them. Dr. Birkin turns into a monster, and they blow him up with a rocket launcher at the end.
The scene is when because Wesker has like this futuristic device at the time that leads them to William Birkin when he's trying to escape with his family. And William Birkin tries to do the quickly turn around and Wild West.
Yeah.
And then he gets shot. Yeah. And then his wife tries to do the same thing.
Yeah.
And then she gets killed.
And then the kid tries to do the same thing as well, right?
Yeah. But, like, I don't know what happens to the kid, because then the kid gets rescued, and her parents has just been killed.
Sure.
But I guess these are my new friends now.
I mean, that's pretty in line with the games, though. There's always, like, a kid that you rescue at the end that doesn't make an appearance ever again, kind of thing.
But even in the Resident Evil remake, there's a bit more of sadness, because in the remake, I think it's the wife plays a bigger role because she's a scientist as well. I think so. I don't quite remember, because you fight Birkin, but then the wife's death is a bit more dramatic in the game. Whereas this one, she's like, all right, well, that was round one. Maybe I've got a chance to... I mean,
my daughter can probably fend for herself if I die.
He had been shot, so maybe he was impaired.
That's true.
But yeah, he gets shot.
You never know. Like, the wife, like, she might be really good at shooting, off time.
Yeah, maybe. But we'll never know now, because
but actually,
she's dead.
I found the ending to be fairly in line with the video games in general. Like, the part where, like, they're escaping on the train, and, like, I just imagined in the corner, like, a little timer, like a countdown timer, there's always that scene in the Resident Evil games where the timer appears, and you're like, gotta get out of this place before it explodes. And then there's always, like, a really one more last, like, big action set piece before the game ends.
I feel like it was still pretty anticlimactic, though. There's usually like some kind of boss battle before that train sequence, like whether or not there should have been like another action set piece where there was a bit more choreography, because it's basically just Birkin being a big mutated dude, and then Leon actually not being an incompetent fool tripping over his shoelaces and shoots the...
I mean, I would argue that shooting a rocket launcher in a very enclosed space is a pretty stupid thing to do, and pretty in line with his character at that point.
Yeah. But, like, I guess it's first part of the game, because you get a rocket launcher in the game.
Yes.
And, like, you kind of let that go, I guess.
Yeah.
And then after that, the movie, it just ends, like...
Yeah,
they kill Birkin, and then they walk out of the tunnel, and that's it. It's kind of like there's no.
They ran out of money.
There's no denouement where they like have a final bit of banter.
Well, there is a post-credit scene though, or a mid-credit scene.
I guess it's worth mentioning.
Yeah, well, Ada Wong makes an appearance. And then she gives Wesker his iconic sunglasses. You find out where Wesker got his sunnies from.
Yeah. Because apparently his eyes are fucked.
Well, he was seemingly killed prior to that, but then he wakes up alive and is assumingly mutated or given some kind of version of the T virus or whatever he is done in the games. Yeah, big old sequel bait there.
Which will never see the light of day.
I would have liked to find out like where he gets his British accent from eventually. You know?
I would rather have seen more Ada than any of the other. Like
they were saving
characters.
it for the sequel, I guess. But yeah, again, Paul W.S. Anderson's sequel bait was much better. If you remember the end of the first film.
Yeah.
She
the Nemesis Project.
Yeah, because she comes out and you actually see Raccoon City for the first time. And then she, it's all in ruins and assumingly there's zombies everywhere. And she, goes that with the shotgun and then the music starts playing. And they're like, that's a much more effective sequel bait than whatever was given to us in Welcome to Raccoon City.
The music, the Marilyn Manson theme song for Resident Evil 1 is actually pretty iconic. It's actually a really cool theme song. I'll listen to it every now and again.
And again, it's something that you would never see in a Resident Evil game, And yeah, I think that's like the thing. Like you need to depart a bit more from the game if you want your movie to be good. Because, like, sure, you can remake the Resident Evil franchise into a series of movies, and try to bring life to the original PS1 games, but they've kind of already done that with the Resident Evil 2 remake game, and so like, what's the point in making a film that's just going to fall short and is always going to be doomed to fall short, even if they stuck to the games 100% and they made like 100% faithful adaptation, it would probably still fall short of the video game remake.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I mean, you just rather play the games. I mean, I'm probably going to play, I still haven't played, Resident Evil 3 remake yet, so maybe I'll give that a visit later after this recording. Because I'd just rather play the games instead of watching the movie. There's not much point, and I guess it's like this day and age now. Zombies are kind of an overused trope. There's so many zombie things. I mean, you'd rather just go and watch like Train to Busan or even maybe some of the earlier seasons of The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know. Like, what else can I say about this movie? I guess my favorite moment, just thinking now, is the Lisa Trevor wrestling match, because it's just like really silly.
It comes out of nowhere. Like I was really taken aback by the cojones to do something like that. Because I mean, that scene in general is fairly good. Like the liquor reveal, I thought was pretty good, the way they handled it. When it's walking across the lights, the ceiling lights, and you can't really see it.
I remember now. Yeah,
like it is a pretty good tension building moment. And then Jeremy Irons gets killed, and like the gore effects on his corpse are pretty good.
He's like, he looks pretty dead. Like when a character dies in this movie, it's like, that guy's dead.
He's not going to be in Welcome to Raccoon City 2.
I don't know the character. It's Ben, I think, the guy who internet chats Claire, and then he dies in the cell. I was expecting a Mr. X from Resident Evil 2.
Okay.
But he just gets mauled by it. It's the same scene as when Leon is looking for the keys.
I
was expecting like a hand to burst out from the wall and say, it's going to be Mr. X. But they didn't have the budget for that. So it's just him getting like bitten, and then and then when Claire like looks at his body and is like looks kind of sad, and he's just like completely bald. It just looks to me like me and my friend were just laughing because it just looked like that guy is well and truly dead. Like there's no he's not getting back up.
But the handling of Lisa Trevor, not good.
Yeah, not really good.
It was bad in
I
a way
enjoyed it.
because they built her up to be a bigger part of the film, and then that's what it kind of amounted to. It was just a wrestling match with the liquor.
Oh no, don't do it.
Yeah, crap movie.
I don't have anything more to say about this movie. Man. I'm actually trying to think now. I mean, it's a pretty boring movie. I was falling asleep during parts of this movie, man, which shouldn't happen in an action movie.
No, I don't think it'll get 6 sequels.
No. I think just less stuff. Just like you need to make the most of your budget, because the budget was only 25 mil, which is not a huge budget, but it's not tiny either. If you're looking at films like Parasite was shot on a $10 million budget. The Raid 1 is $2 million. The Raid 2 was $4 million. I'm not sure what the budget for the first John Wick.
But there are a lot better films with less of a budget than this one, I guess.
Yeah. District 9 was a $30 million budget. Sure. A bit more, but just look at what they've done with that,
I think if they had focused more on one set of characters and just left the others out, I don't think anybody really would have objected if it had just featured Claire and Leon and no Jill and Chris.
Yeah. Well, I feel like that the pitch to the executives was, we're going to have all these characters and it's going to bring in the fans, because that's what fans wanted from the W.S. Anderson movies, is the characters to be prominent roles. So I think this is just speculation, but maybe the executives were like, okay, you have to make this movie, but you have to have all the characters because that's what's going to draw people in. So whether or not, you're tied, your hands are tied because you got to meet these requirements, or I don't know, maybe they had the control, maybe they thought it was good with all these characters.
Sure, I don't know. It's hard to say who's to blame for this, but it's just not very good, is it?
Forgettable movie.
It is a forgettable movie, and hopefully people will forget about it quickly, and then maybe somewhere down the line they'll try it again with the benefit of hindsight. Personally, I hope they don't, because
I don't think we need any more.
I just think it's a waste of money. It's not my money, but it just feels very wasteful to make this kind of film, because, like I said, even if it's spot on, it's not going to be as good as the games. Just make more games, Capcom.
Yeah, make more games.
Make more games. All right, guys. I think that's it from us, right?
I don't know what else to say.
So, guys, what did you think of this film? Have you seen it? Are you going to watch it? I hope you're not going to watch it in cinemas. But,
it's probably be out of cinemas by the time we put this episode up, honestly.
If you have watched it, let us know what you think. You can find us at twoasianblokes@gmail.com, or you can join our Facebook group to be part of the conversation.
That's it, guys.
Thank you for listening to this. I'm sorry if we came off as a bit negative in this episode, but I just...
No, you don't need to apologize.
Yeah, this film made me tired, man.
Yeah, man. All right, I'm probably going to have a nap.
Yeah, I'm going to try and watch watch something better to get this movie out of my head, I think.
Yeah.
Actually, I feel better now that I've had a bit of a rant. I guess it's kind of therapeutic. So, thank you guys for listening. Anyway,
yeah,
as always. All right, guys, take care of yourselves.
See you later, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.